Karen stepped outside on a July morning and stopped in her tracks. Her tomato plants, the ones she'd babied since April, were stripped down to bare stems. Overnight. No warning. Just gone. And here's the part that's going to matter in a minute: this wasn't the first time. It wasn't even the fifth time. She'd spent over $300 that season alone on sprays, powders, and store-bought remedies, and every single one gave her the same result: a few good days, then right back where she started. If you've ever stood in your own garden feeling that exact frustration, I need you to stick around, because the answer isn't in a bottle. It never was. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why some gardens barely get touched by pests at all, while others turn into a battlefield every single summer. Before we get into it, if you've dealt with anything close to what Karen went through, go ahead and hit subscribe now, because this channel is built for exactly this: real explanations, not quick fixes that fade in a week. Here's what nobody tells you when you're standing in the pesticide aisle for the third time this season: pests aren't really the problem. They're a symptom. And treating a symptom without touching the cause is why the cycle never ends. Most of us assume a pest invasion is bad luck, or a bad season, or just how gardening is. You'd think spraying more would eventually solve it. It seems logical: kill the bugs, save the plants. But here's what surprised me the first time an old-timer explained it to me: the more you spray, the more dependent your garden becomes on you spraying. You're not fixing anything. You're running on a treadmill. So let's start with what was actually happening under Karen's tomatoes, because it has nothing to do with what was happening above the soil. Her plants looked weak all season, a little pale, a little slow to grow, no matter how much she watered them. You'd assume that's a watering issue. But the real story was underground. Her soil had been depleted for years, thin on organic matter, low on the microbial life that plants depend on. And weak, stressed plants are like an easy meal sitting out in the open. Pests target the weakest plant in the row first, almost every time, because those plants can't produce the natural chemical defenses a healthy plant can. This isn't folklore, it's something agricultural researchers have documented for decades. Healthy soil builds healthy plant tissue, and healthy plant tissue is simply harder for insects to exploit. So the first real solution has nothing to do with pests directly. It's compost. Working organic matter into your soil over a season, sometimes two, rebuilds that biological foundation. It's not instant. But it's the difference between a plant that can defend itself and one that can't. And that's the first quiet reward here: you start realizing pest control was never really about the pests at all. But soil is only step one, and the next mistake is happening in plain sight, right above the ground. Karen, like most home gardeners, planted her tomatoes in a straight, tidy row. Looks great. Feels organized. But to a pest, a row of identical plants is basically a highway with a flashing sign on it. Insects find food using scent trails, and when every plant in a row is the same species, that scent trail is strong, clear, and impossible to miss. You'd think uniformity would be easier to manage. It's actually the opposite: it's an open invitation. This is where companion planting earns its reputation, and not as some trendy hack, but as a strategy generations of farmers relied on before synthetic pesticides even existed. Mixing in basil, marigold, or onion between your vegetables breaks up that scent trail. Pests get confused. Some are repelled outright. It's a small shift with a real biological reason behind it, and it costs next to nothing to try. Diversity does something else too, something most gardeners never even notice happening. We're taught to see every insect as a threat. Spider, wasp, beetle, spray it, it's gone, problem solved, right? Except spraying doesn't discriminate. It wipes out ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps right alongside the pests they would have eaten. Karen was accidentally destroying her own defense system every time she reached for that bottle. A single ladybug can eat dozens of aphids a day. A lacewing larva can go through hundreds in its lifetime. These aren't background characters in your garden, they're the security team, and most people fire them without even realizing it. Bringing them in is simple. Flowering herbs like dill, fennel, and yarrow act like feeding stations, drawing beneficial insects in and giving them a reason to stay. Once that happens, your garden starts patrolling itself. That's not a metaphor, it's literally what's occurring at a biological level while you're inside having coffee. But even a garden full of allies still needs one thing from you, and it's the simplest habit on this entire list: paying attention. Most pest disasters don't start big. They start with a dozen eggs on the underside of one leaf. A few small holes nobody notices for a week. By the time damage is obvious, the population has already exploded, and now you're playing catch-up instead of prevention. Walking your garden for 5 minutes a day, really looking at leaves, stems, and soil, catches problems while they're still small enough to handle by hand. It's not glamorous. It's not a product. But experienced growers will tell you this single habit prevents more damage than any spray ever could. Now here's something that surprises almost everyone the first time they hear it: sometimes the goal isn't removing pests at all. It's redirecting them. Trap crops work by offering pests something even more appealing than your main harvest, drawing them away before they ever reach your tomatoes or peppers. And for young, fragile seedlings that haven't built up any defenses yet, a simple row cover or even a cardboard collar around the stem can protect them through their most vulnerable stage, no chemicals involved at all. And yes, sprays still have a place in this system. Homemade garlic and pepper spray can work as an occasional deterrent. But notice the word occasional. It's one small tool inside a much bigger system, not the whole solution, which is exactly where most gardeners get it backwards. By midsummer, Karen had rebuilt her soil, mixed in companion plants, added a strip of dill along her fence line, and stopped spraying almost entirely. Her garden that year ended with fewer pests and a bigger tomato harvest than she'd had in any previous season. Not because she found a stronger product. Because she finally understood how a garden actually works. I want to hear from you. What pest has given you the most trouble this season? Drop it in the comments, because there's a good chance a few of you are dealing with the exact same thing, and I read every single one. Before you go, there's one more twist to Karen's story. Her tomatoes stopped getting eaten alive, but a few weeks later, something stranger happened. The plants were thriving, loaded with fruit, healthier than ever, and then they suddenly stopped ripening. That one had nothing to do with pests at all, and it trips up even experienced gardeners. We're covering exactly why in the next video, so make sure you're subscribed before it goes live.